Hi, this is Tia. Today I'll be presenting about the neuromyth of learning styles. Well, what is a learning style? There are three highly propagated learning styles: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Have you ever been asked to categorize yourself as a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learner? This is definitely a commonly asked question, and I've also been asked this question before, but turns out this is a neuromyth, or a common misconception about how the mind and brain function. This myth has gained popularity through two main ideas. The first is a misconception based on the valid research finding that visual, auditory, and kinesthetic information is processed in different parts of the brain. The second is related to the previous slide. If you have been asked to categorize yourself based on your specific learning style, it is likely because of the commercialization of industries around learning styles. In fact, more than 90% of teachers in various countries believe this myth. If we look at the table below, the percentages spread across 5 countries are relatively high. Experts are unsure of the clear origin, but it may have to do with the self-esteem movement of the late 80s and early 90s, where it was widely circulated that everyone must have a special and distinct learning style. Especially in the early 2000s, this myth became widely propagated across the world. So why is the idea of learning styles false? Although visual, auditory, and kinesthetic information is processed in separate parts of the brain is highly interconnected by the corpus callosum, a tract of white matter that connects the right and left hemispheres of the brain that make cognitive function and signaling in the brain essential, no matter where the information is processed. Secondly, a learning style only refers to preferred communication style, but has no real implications regarding an improved learning process, such as an improved ability to retain information, faster learning, or better performance. And last but not least, all three learning styles are often used in conjunction to achieve the best learning process. So, how did researchers arrive at these three conclusions? A study published in 2017 found that students who preferred learning visually thought they would remember pictures best, and those who preferred learning verbally thought they'd remember words best. But these preferences had no correlation to which ones they actually remembered better later on, words or pictures. Essentially, all the learning style meant in this case was that subjects liked words or pictures better, not that words or pictures worked better for their memories. In another study published in 2009, the researchers compared this first diagram, or the verbalizer, an association of word-to-word activity, and the second, the visualizer dimension of picture-to-picture associations. As we can see, the different regions of the brain are highlighted in the diagram using green and blue, but there is no specific correlation between a better verbalizer or visualizer dimension. The conclusion of the study was that if you're a visualizer and you're given pictures, you don't remember pictures any better than anyone who says they're a verbalizer. This third research study, published in 2018, disproves the concept of distinct learning styles through an experiment. First, students are asked to categorize themselves and fill out a survey regarding their preferred learning style. Then, based on these results, they were given some study strategies. What they concluded is that people's comfortable study habits didn't necessarily align with their preferred learning style. Moreover, that those who did adjust their studying habits to the specific style did not receive better grades. If we look to our two figures on the left, we see the number of people that chose their learning style in the graph. And in the table, it shows the number of people that did and did not adjust their study habits, as well as the grades they received. And through this, we can see that there's not a specific correlation, and even in some cases, those who did not adjust received a better grade. This image also proves the high interconnectivity of the brain. Although information is processed in different parts of the brain, the neuronal pathways illustrated in this diagram show just how interconnected the brain is. It is most likely that when we are learning, we are not only using one specific visual or auditory area. Our brain is working together to learn new information. So, what are the consequences of the myth today? In order to understand the consequences of believing this myth, we must ask ourselves, why should we limit and categorize ourselves to a specific learning style when we should employ all of these skills in the learning process? This encourages a fixed mindset in which the person might blame the lack of a specific learning style or refuse to explore other ways to learn information. Secondly, this encourages the categorization of students based on uninformed claims or neuromyths. By asking students to associate themselves with a particular learning style, we can often ask ourselves, why can't I be a visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learner? This brings me to how you can actively counter the neuromyth of learning styles. Remember that you have many resources at your disposal, including auditory, visual, and kinesthetic abilities, and should not limit your thinking or approach to a single one. Explore and remember we all have the unlimited potential to grow and learn no matter the learning style. Thank you, and this is my presentation on neuromyths.